Good evening. Welcome to Chapters and Truffles. I really didn't think I would get around to filming this video today, but I'm going to talk to you about the books that helped me grow in confidence and the books that really gave me the advice that just gave it to me straight, just gave me straight advice on how to build my confidence, and it really helped me, and I thought I could share some of these with you. They're such amazing reads. Oh, they have like a no BS kind of attitude to confidence, which I really, really loved, and I find really hard to find in books these days. Like someone's playing soccer outside. Okay. So for me, confidence was not something I was born with. I don't know anyone who is born with confidence, to be completely honest. Or maybe everyone's born with confidence. That's another story, but it's another debate for another time. But I was not someone who at least grew up feeling very confident. When I was younger, I did not have a lot of confidence through primary school and high school. I was definitely not one of the cool girls or popular girls. And so I found when I was an adult and like a young adult and even into my late 20s, I really had to rebuild my confidence and work out also what parts of my confidence were kind of missing or lacking, or where I struggled with my confidence. I think that there's a lot of talk about confidence being like that it factor when you step into a room and you command attention. I think it's more than that. Growing up, someone can command attention when they enter a room and still be super not confident in who they are. I think for me, confidence is something that is within knowing when to say no, knowing when to say yes, and also your own boundaries. I think confidence has a lot to do with boundaries and sticking to those boundaries, trusting yourself, knowing what's right for you and what's wrong for you, kind of having that self-awareness. I think sometimes it means being nice at the right times, but sometimes I don't want to say letting people down, but I do want to say don't just be nice for the sake of being nice if you're betraying yourself. That's horrible. So these books really these books really helped me with this. They helped me work through where my stumbling blocks were and at what points in my life I needed to speak up for myself when I felt I was being harshly done by. And these books are, like I said, a no BS kind of thing. I don't go well with that. I don't want the sugar-coated version, just tell me straight. So I found for me like a huge confidence thing was a people-pleasing thing, and I gravitate towards books that address that. So these books will tend to address more people-pleasing rather than anything else. I found that people-pleasing was a huge boundary in me gaining confidence, just because I would be saying yes when I wanted to say no, and vice versa. So the first book that I want to talk about, I actually listened to it as an audiobook, which was amazing. First audiobook I've read or listened to for like years. But anyways, it's called The Gift of Imperfection by Brené. This book really helped me out when I was trying to work through things, and I think it kind of gives brutal advice about confidence because it lets you know that you don't have to be perfect, and that it really points out the issues within yourself that maybe aren't the best, or maybe stumbling blocks that you have, but it also reassures you in letting you know that this doesn't mean that you're a failure or you're a waste. It just means you have things to work on, which I found was great, and that it's okay that you have things to work on. You can be messy, you can be all over the place. These ideas I feel are not new concepts. For me, Brené Brown writes this in such a way that is really poignant and really doesn't sugarcoat anything. She's quite to the point, which I really appreciate, and is very matter of fact. She also suggests this idea of perfection is not confidence. Striving for perfection is not striving for confidence. And perfection and confidence are not the same thing. No one can be perfect, we know that, but trying to get there is not going to grow your confidence if you suddenly all of a sudden find you have if all of a sudden you find out you have like perfect teeth, or you pay to get perfect teeth, or the hair of your dreams or whatever, that doesn't immediately make you confident internally. You may feel better, about yourself, but that's not going to make you a confident person. That's not going to give you the strength to say no when you want to say no, and yes when you want to say yes, and understanding, boundaries and what the right thing to say is at the time, and, taking obviously into consideration all things like respect and things like that. But she really gives that idea really brutally, really honestly, I feel, of striving for perfection is not striving for confidence, that they're two different things, and you don't need to be perfect to be confident. You can be confident and trust yourself and know yourself and stick up for yourself without being perfect. Well, I mean, no one's going to be perfect, so there's that. For me, a big part of my confidence journey was thinking that I would become more confident when I'm more successful, when I have this, or when I have this possession, or when I get this job, or when I have this salary or whatever, I will become confident because I have these things. That is not the case. Like, some people, even, let's say for example, podcasters, they may have no one listening to their podcast, or, if people are cooking and no one's watching their recipe videos, it doesn't mean they're bad recipes. It doesn't mean it's a bad podcast. It just means that no one's listening to it yet. And it doesn't necessarily mean that you shouldn't have the confidence to say it and the confidence to voice it just because no one's listening yet. Confidence should not be a reflection of your success. Your confidence, obviously, I feel naturally does grow with success, but you should still have that kind of foundational confidence, and confidence should not be reliant on success to be there. I think the book that really helped me with this and was very brutally honest, to be completely honest, was the book Big Magic by Elizabeth Gilbert. It really explored this idea that as a creative, you don't have to be successful to be confident in your work. You can still produce work and have confidence in what you do, but you don't need to, you don't need to be successful. You don't need to be a successful artist before you start having confidence to make art and putting your art out there. Even from like the perspective of someone like me who's on YouTube, it's like, I'm very much in the early days. It's not about me, like, just because I don't have like 1 million followers and I'm not famous doesn't mean I don't need to tell my family and friends. Like, I can't tell them. Like, I should still have the confidence to tell them that I'm doing this, even if I don't have 1 million followers or 1,000 followers or whatever. Like, my success should not be a measure of my confidence. That's actually what I'm trying to say. But this book really delves into that and is very, very interesting. I can definitely recommend it for any creative or anyone who really hinges their confidence on their success. I think this is such a powerful, powerful book that is really slept on. A book that I really liked that kind of stayed with me was a book about confidence in stillness, and it just kind of gave me that jot of sometimes what I needed. The book was called The Comfort Book by Haig, and it basically is just like a few snippets of words, almost like a book of poetry that you can just kind of open it up and there's a quote or there's a word or there's a line or something. Reading those little quotes or little snippets like "you're enough" or you work really hard, or whatever the case may be. Reading it on a page really helps instill it in my own mind, and it's a nice like just before bed book. You just quickly flip it open, or in the morning, or if you're stressed, flip it open, have a look. Oh, that's nice. It's quite nice. I don't think from all of this, or what I kind of took out of it, was that confidence is not flashy or shiny. Like, it's a lot of hard work to get there. That's my experience as well. It's been a lot of me putting myself out there, not something that apparently is unusual. This is quite, especially in Brené Brown's book, it's quite normal to feel insecure and imperfect and a bit messy on your way to gaining confidence and kind of finding yourself in the process. I find also setting boundaries really scary for me personally. You don't have to be perfect, you can be in that journey, and sometimes that journey is part of getting to being confident and it's part of the learning curve, and that's okay. And it kind of freed me a little bit to be like, oh, it's fine. Like, I'm fine, I'm doing well, I'm plodding along well. So thank you so much for joining me on this book's episode on Chapters and Truffle. Hope to see you again next Tuesday. If you have read any of these books and liked them or didn't like them, have any thoughts or suggestions, please leave a comment below. And looking forward to seeing you guys next week. Bye.